Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. Welcome to SimSeniors and welcome to Season 6. Now, a little bit of a preface before we start. If I sound at all off, I'm recovering from a case of COVID. And it's not fun, wouldn't wish it upon anyone. So, if I do have points where I go mute at all, you know why. Either way, it's going to be a good round tonight. It's the Silverstone rerun. After we had a little bit of a hiccup first time out, and unfortunately that first round wasn't going ahead. We're using up the off week, and we're taking it back to Britain. We're taking it to the circuit that it should have started it all. It is, of course, going to be the one and the only. Taking a look here, beautiful flyby lap. We're not going to waste too much time, folks. We're going to be jumping into things pretty quickly. Of course, it is an iconic circuit, speaks for itself, doesn't really need much in the way of an introduction. You've got Maggots and Beckett's, of course, the most well-known sections of the track, but also the entire course as a whole is a much more complex affair than sometimes people give it a bit more credit for. So, for instance, you look at the complex twists and turns, even with a lack of sort of vertical undulation. It's quite the challenge to muster. For instance, you've got Abbey, you've got the Hangar Straight, you've got, say, Wellington heading down into Brooklands and Luffield, of course, before our start and finish line with the GP variant, not the Formula 1 variant, but the actual, say, the GT racing variant of the course. Either way, folks, this is the track we're looking at, and keep an eye out for your favourite driver. Keep out for the ones you aren't looking after. We've got your spotter's guide, say some favourites, and we've got some drivers who we will want to be watching as this season progresses. We had, of course, a cracker of an opening round at Imola. Lots of chaos, lots of twists and turns as far as the championship is concerned. In the end, Max Grosges in the M4 was the one to take the lead for gold, with silver in going to Tony McKibben in the 992 Porsche. And then you can see the rest of the silver field looking nice with their silver driver numbers. The white numbers denote the gold class, and then the red numbers, which we'll see in a second, led by Jorge Saloma, are in the red adorned number cars. So let us know who you are keeping an eye on, folks. And as we are jumping through and getting ourselves ready to go, we're going to be hopping trackside with none other than Dan Moffat. He's been one to watch in the Mustang GT3. He's put pedal to the metal. Let's see what he can do here as we come out to the first lap of qualifying, good and proper. Fourth place as he currently stands. He's got a 5-point penalty after a minor infraction last time out. You can see taking a good amount of speed through the first sector of the course. Let's sort of jump on board and see what it's like front split of you. You see how low these cars run to the ground and how they really are pushing the limits of the circuit. As we come through, say, Stowe down into Club here. Now, I'd forgive people for thinking this is where the course starts, but those of a more touring car in GT persuasion, endurance persuasion, will be familiar with the other course in terms of the starting point. There you go, nicely done. Farmco through the village entry. Keeping it clean. He has got a Bentley behind him. In fact, very close behind is that Bentley. Potentially capitalising on a little bit of a wake from his opponent car. And we'll have to tell with that one. There we are, Moffat looking clean with the lap. Of course, he's going to be our initial benchmark. What's he going to post on the boards? Let's see what he can do here. Crossing the line. It's a 58.267. From Cook behind in the Bentley. It's not Moffat, in fact. That is going to be Richard Cook doing exactly as we said. He's used his opponent to great effect, and he's not letting any advantage slipping by in the early stages. Wolfslenner is going to be jumping to the top. Then Lindblom immediately coming after. More cars are going to be filing through. Hellstrom P6. We're coming through with Henrik Kamara now into P14 as he gets dropped down the field in rapid succession. McNair going to be the next one coming through now. We keep on board with what time's going to be. Just 18th and knocking down further. About 2.5 seconds off the lead. The 2-minute flat. Well, 2:05.27. That is going to be an area he wants to get out of. He wants to get into at least the 159s if he wants to show competition. The likes of Howes and Hughes currently in his class. Looking at the rest of the field now. Saloma, current bronze class leader and remaining strong on that front. He's nestling in with the pros. And he's going all the way to fight tooth and nail with the golds as far as qualifying is concerned. It's just a 100th of a second ahead of Hellstrom and a couple of hundredths behind Holmberg up in P6. So netting himself the class lead by over half a second. Looking very strong in that department with Damien Reed also completing a lap in very good fashion. A 58.8. It's going to see him in very good territory. Although he's not quite got as comfortable of a lead as he may have thought or anticipated. He's going to have to keep working at it because I don't think any of those other drivers are going to sit idly by. McKibben, not seeing McKibben out on field just yet. He is out on the track, but I think invalidated his first run. So he has got a chance for a valid run here. And of course, Silver class leader is a one to watch. And one we are going to keep an eye on, of course, is the driver as well from Gold, who managed to put it on top last time out. Wolfslenner has just posted a new fastest time, 57.815, just 7 milliseconds clear of Grosges, our top runner heading in from round 1. Didn't want anyone to miss out on Silverstone, so we thought to put it on rather than just skip the round entirely. Sometimes it's good to have off weeks, and luckily all the drivers agreed to run this instead of dropping Silverstone entirely, and I think it's for the best because we would have missed out on a great opportunity for some more racing otherwise. Here we are, McKibben looking sharp and looking fast, coming up to the line now. Let's see what he can do. Final corner here. And as we cross the line, P40 goes all the way up into PA. A brilliant run, only surpassed by a single 100th of a second from Gary Barham. Great run there. And also the very striking livery on that McLaren, harking back to some classics with that Lucky Strike livery. I gotta say, I approve. Looking sharp, looking fancy, and looking sharper is Grosges in the BMW. He's just posted a 57.492. Wolfslenner was looking very confident in the McLaren, but that Beamer has just come in and he's absolutely knocked it out of the park. We are just over halfway through qualifying here, folks, and now it's looking like it's still anyone's game. There's still plenty of time to be gained on the board. That much is clear. Track conditions are not looking like they're set to change anytime soon, so as things are getting more acclimatized, drivers are getting more used to track running, and as the track itself becomes a bit more pliant with some rubbering in, it's looking like we could see some very good runs ahead. Elstrom just started up a new run here. P7 in the gold. 58.2. Of course, he wants to be in those 57s if he wants to hang with the top brass. Let's see what he can do here. Looking fairly positive on deltas wise. Just having a little bit of a hiccup with some of our broadcast controls. Apologies for that, folks. can see here running about a 10th clean on his Delta here, so has potential. Could still make it, and oh, very clean run there. You can see immediate time gain through Vale and Club. I think that was his key pitfall, but doesn't seem to have quite carried that same momentum out onto the exit. Now you can take a little bit of an extension, but a bit of skittishness over the curb. We see the back axle jumping ever so slightly. And when you're tuning your car, you want to make sure you built yourself a stable platform, because confidence in some case matters more than outright pace. You have to be confident you can lean on the car to get yourself out of those uncomfortable situations should things come to blows. Coming up, Engdahl just ahead of Hellstrom here. He's looking very good. Coming up to the line now, that Moser inspired livery going very narrow. And the start-finish line, it's a 58.1 flat, so he's going to put himself up into P5. Can Hellstrom match it? Going to the final corner. Last stretch. And it is going to be just 22 milliseconds shy of a new record for himself. Unfortunate for him there, because by all accounts that was looking like an absolute stormer of a run. We jump around the field as there's the last 5 minutes left in qualifying now, and there's still a lot to play for. We still got a lot of drivers who have wanted to get some better runs on the board. Hamby, for instance, we know he can put down the pace. We know he's really working that car, and he's been working at it. One of the few stalwarts running the Huracan in its current guise. And, well, I probably made enough puns about the livery to make even the most competent of butchers sweat. He really is out for blood. He's got a point to prove. So let's see what he can do here. Coming through Brooklands and Luffield. So far, looking like an overall improvement. He's about 0.3 up on current projection, and this could put him as high as P20. Just needs to link it up, bring it home. Hamby, what can you do? Show us the magic. Brings it through the final corner, and it's going to be P21. So an honest improvement there, and that has put him in pretty good stead. That is in fact put him top of bronze. So very impressive run there from the Lamborghini runner. Such runs from the likes of Grosges do make me question whether 56s are possible, as highlighted by Desi over there. I'm very eager to see if there's anyone who can do it. The cards seem to be pointing towards a certain Bavarian runner here in the black and gold Wolfpack skin. It is going to be Maximilian Grosges, and I want to say to anyone whose surnames I have butchered over the course of Season 5 and now Season 6, just know it's tradition. I don't make the rules. But also on a serious note, if I am messing it up, let me know. Grosges is going to be peeling back. And he's in fact, I think, going to be letting a majority of the traffic go. He doesn't want to be held up by such matters as on-track traffic. So let's see what he can do here when given ideal conditions, and he could in fact be getting a little bit of a tow from the McLaren of Hellstrom just up ahead. And we'll take a bit of an onboard. This is the Beamer M4. Maximilian Grosges, current pole sitter and winner of round 1. We're going to see what he can put down on a push lap. Wolfslener is his main rival out of all of this. Lindblom very closely behind. Wolfslener, in fact, could be on target. We may have to jump over to him in a second. Could be on target for a fastest lap of the session. He's currently a couple of tenths up, and that could put him in new pole territory. No 156 as of yet. We were just having a little discussion as to whether we think it was still possible. But let's see here. Let's jump on board and see about a 10th up. So more time being extracted by the BMW. I'll switch to this UI for just a brief moment. You can see the kind of inputs he's running. TC2, maybe a little bit more skittish, and he, as we were saying earlier, wants to have a bit more confidence in the car over outright corner exit power. You're looking nice and clean here, Village. About a quarter of a second up. This could be close. This could very much be close, folks. We're sat a couple of tenths. Wolfslander has just come up to the line now. Is there going to be an improvement? Oh, Wolfslander's just posted a 4.72. Is Grosguez going to challenge that? Qualifying has officially ended. It's now or never. Quali hangs in the balance for the gold class driver. Grosguez coming up to the line. Is he going to do it? Yes, he is. 0.352. The Beamer has taken provisional pole. There's a few cars who could challenge it, but I don't know who is going to be making that same push. Is Wolfslander going to be going for another run? No, he's not. He's down. He's peeling off. Muffet could be another one to keep an eye on. Everyone is jumping out to try and get a last couple of runs here. Homer down in P23, also going to be pushing a bit harder. No, Moffat retires into the pit lane. Giles could be one of our last bastions, currently P33, but very much up on the time. Big jump potential here for Giles. Giles goes fastest for bronze, P9 overall. A 58.2 from the Ferrari. As a last second massive swing for the bronze runner, with Adam Rios looking like they are the person to beat here as well for silver, unless someone else is going to challenge. Homer was on a lap but has put it into the sand, and they are not going to be walking away with an improvement here. Last couple of cars on the field, and it looks like we have our filing order. Here we are, Peyton. Last card across the line. And there we go, folks. That is quali done and dusted. So, in pole position and top runner for gold, it is going to be suitably gold adorned. Maximilian Grosguez is going to make it a double. Although I think he was P2, in fact, in quali on round 1. This could set him up well to take 2 wins on the trot and really hold dominion over this first set of races. Wolfslander going to be closely behind in second, with Lindblom in third. You have to accept my apologies there, folks. My voice is slightly going. Don't want to be pushing too hard this run. Meanwhile, in silver, you have Adam Rios with a very sharp and striking Mustang livery, along with Robert Homer and the very bright Pink Panther Porsche. And then Chris Wilson in third for silver. When all else fails, though, you can count on someone making a massive swing in the dying hours of qualifying. And that came in the form of Phil Giles in P9 from P33. Absolute corker of a run. Really sort of slipped under people's noses. But massive swing to take pole for bronze. Along with Paul Hamby in P2. And then jumping a bit further down, Neil Mellon in P3. We're going to take a short break here, folks. And I'm going to get myself a drink of water and allow my voice to recover ahead of the hours race. So you won't want to go anywhere, folks. Don't miss it. We'll be back with you very, very shortly. Alright folks, we're back. Welcome back everybody. Of course, we had just had an amazing qualifying session and we have got ourselves quite the race ahead of us. It's going to be a good one. But before anything else, let us know who you're keeping an eye on heading into tonight's running. Are you expecting usual suspects like Rodriguez to come out on top, or for instance, for the gold class, we could have an underdog. We could have someone take a swing. I know Moffat, for instance, is very much eyeing up those top positions after he didn't get the qualifying he wanted in round one, but still made some really good progress towards the top. We'll see if that momentum kicks in here. We could see him get a win, but like with any other driver, they all are the same on the cards to get some glory tonight and get some wins of their own. But we are about to go trackside, and we're about to see what these races can do. Reminder folks, we have a 60-minute race. Mandatory pit stop fuel at least, but you can also take tyres if you so wish. Although it will add a little bit of time to your overall pit stop, and that of course needs to be factored in to your strategy here. It's going to be a bit of a way up as to how you manage your fuel, how you manage your tyres, and how you play the circuit as well as your opponents. That's one of the great things about having a pit stop, is you have a lot more strategic options coming into the race and into the session. You can play things a little bit differently to the rest of the field and either come out on top or be left in the dust. But enough of that, enough speculation folks. We're now heading trackside, and we're now seeing what these drivers can really do. 15-minute quali is over. And we see a little bit of positional trades, but everyone is just getting their tyres warmed up, getting themselves up to operating temp. You can see the amount of data they have potentially to work with here. While we're displaying zeros, they'll have all the data that they need to manage their car. And that's what separates this from any other typical racing challenge. It's, put simply, just as much a game of strategy as it is a game of playing your opponents. Now this is far from a game, let me make that clear. Not something to be taken lightly. But reading your opponents, as well as understanding the limit to your car, is going to be the big separator. So who's it going to be? Now I want to keep my eyes on the two bronze drivers tonight of Hamby and Giles. These two have proven that they really do have the pace on tap. Maybe it's consistency. Maybe it's something else that puts them in bronze, but I am seeing glimmers of silver and even gold class pace if qualifying is anything to go by. We'll watch their race with great interest. Also curious to see how the Fords do in this regard. And while they have been out for a little bit by this point and the BOPs may have been slightly adjusted, I know the sort of inherent advantage of early car releases and getting on them quick is you can potentially exploit a little bit of what we call BOP immaturity. I like to think that the dust is settled for the most part. It does have its strengths and weaknesses like any other car, but like any other driver, it's up to you to judge and decide whether that is worth the trade-offs you might have. And that unfamiliarity is also a trade-off all of its own. But enough chat. It's time to go racing, folks. We're here with technically round 2, but it's the round 1 rerun of Silverstone Season 6. The season start that should have been. We're here on board with the front of the grid. Grosges and pole, Wolfslander alongside, and as soon as the green flag drops when we cross that line, it is go time. And let's see them do it. Let's see them go racing. And there we go, there's the green flag. The track is hot here at Silverstone, and it is all lights a go. Let's see what they can do here immediately. Pressure coming out from Moffat to try and claim the position. That's going to be Engdahl and Cook coming together just slightly off the piste. And then Homer going to be getting a bit of a gap of his own as Giles and Hamby. Oh, I say Hamby, I'm not really seeing, but a big extend off the side of the field. That is one of the BMWs. Not sure what's going on there. Wow, my voice can barely keep up with everything that's going on. You see dust clouds kicking up. You see racers absolutely fighting tooth and nail to see what they can claim out of this ordeal. It's almost Noah's Ark style, 2x2 coming through into Stowe, up to Vale. Who's going to lay claim to the apex? That's the big name of the game. You see cars ducking and weaving left and right, trying to find any form of space that they can. Hamby and Giles continue to push. Meanwhile, back up front, Moffat making a challenge on Lindblom, trying to poke the nose round as Richard Cook is going to be sniffing around just behind, looking for an opportunity. Doesn't quite get it. Engdahl trying to capitalise, and in the same vein, struggles to get a window. Rosges has got a little bit of clearance here thanks to the fighting that's gone on behind him. The joys of being pole means that you don't have to worry about this trackside competition. And now what this means for him is that if he times this right, he could get a getaway. More Hellstrong, so close to being under a lot of pressure here. As you can see, that is the Ferrari. That is Larson making a move in through to Brooklands. Is it going to stick? Hellstrom might have to duck it back and play it a little bit more conservatively for now. Here we are, first initial times posted. We're looking at about 2:06. We've got Craig Starkey, another Bentley driver, seeing a bit more popularity against the likes of Tennant in Season 5, Group 2. In a bit more popularity of the Bentley this time around. Shipped away from the Aston Martins, it seems. Bit of a drop on that front. Seems to have switched places in terms of popularity overall. Carlos is making the car work. The car is putting in the work alright. Ostrashaz is going to be making a little bit of a push on his own. He's 17, but he's not going to let it stay that way. Uncontested, that's going to be O'Neill claiming the inside as best he can. Rusto once again. And really putting in the effort. Not going to be able to make the move stick as Ostrashaz, but not through lack of trying. Going to have to wait a couple more laps, I think, before going again. The point is now, O'Neill is feeling the pressure. And he feels that Ostrashaz is right there, and he's not going to be yielding anytime soon. Lindblom is in a similar boat. He's very much putting the hammer down on Wolfslener, and Wolfslener is already a couple of seconds behind Grosges just from defending alone. But for Lindblom, what matters here is that Wolfslener knows who's behind him, knows there's quite an opponent he has to go up against. He's going to have to manage his drive very carefully. Being too overzealous on certain lines and coming out a bit slower could see him under attack. Now is the balancing act of racing, folks. Need I say more? Looking around at the 42 car strong grid. So we have some winners and losers throughout all of this. Seeing a bit of slow moving traffic. I think that's Jordan McNair. Or was that Serrano just behind? Oh, someone was off track. That is Chris Wilson. Not sure what's going on there with the number 49 car. It can't be anything good. I want to check back and see kind of what's going on at the earlier stages of the race. And we got a little bit of an action replay here. This is going to be the number 52 car. We're going to see, just say, maybe a little bit of highlights and lowlights for some. We can see drivers going off left to right, and this is, I say, one of the big sort of stop and start incidents in the early stages of the course. Cars going left, cars going right, going off track. And you could just see there in the background a couple more cars going off. So that shows just a little bit of the chaos that maybe a few of these drivers have had to deal with. Jumping back up into the thick of it. We have a couple of main battles going on right now. Ones that I want to focus on is that we've got battles in the mid-pack for some potentially high-value positions, particularly for those of the other classes. Just as we jump on board with Barham, very, very close to the back of Justin Cutler. Looking like this could be a move that he's trying to size up, and he did put his nose in for it before, but wasn't able to make a full commitment. Wonder what patience level he's going to exhibit with this move in particular. Because everyone has a limit on their patience, and drivers do not want to be stuck behind another car for 6 or 7 laps. Any driver will tell you that they should have been in their rearview mirror yesterday. We are going to be seeing in real time how drivers respond to pressure. And speaking of pressure, we just had a little bit of a moment between Marsh and McNair. You can see a bit of a replay of exactly what happened. You can see them coming up in through Maggots and Beckett's, and you see he's just going to be coming across. That is Marsh right there. Maybe squeezing McNair a little bit aggressively. You know, to keep an eye on the rear quarters. All too easy. But remember, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. But sadly, gone are the days where those are etched in said side mirrors. But it's probably a cost-saving measure. Who knows? Looking around at the field now, folks. Looks like things have, for the most part, stabilised. Big takeaways so far. Ooh, big slip angle coming there from Dave Marsh. Still keeping good pace. Regardless, big takeaways as we look the rest of the field. Rosges has run away. He doesn't seem to be under any major threat right now. 4.4 seconds ahead of Wolfslander. In fact, Wolfslander is the only one in real trouble because Lindblom has not moved from that half-second barrier in about the entire 3 laps. Ostrachars, along with Marsh and McNair, are getting pretty swallowed up in a fight, and in fact McNair has no choice but to yield and go down to potentially be challenged by Trevor Waite up in a battle for P19. Let's see, McNair is going to have to switch gears very quickly to play defensive. And to keep almost eagle eyes on that McLaren behind him. Very much being wary of where his opponent is placing himself. Number 52, looking hungry for a spot. He's going to peel out to the left. Potentially eye up an opportunity. Going to stick the nose in. They're just trying to go defensive best he can. That is going to be Trevor continuing to push. He is going to go narrow once again, but he's going to peel back. He's not going to commit fully to it. He's taking a chance. Didn't quite happen in the end. Looks like we have got an incident. That's Cumberbatch. What's happened here then? Looks like he ended up just on, say, off the side of the track. Oh, I couldn't tell you what happened. Unfortunately, the instant replays are not functioning as intended, unfortunately, at the moment. Cutler and Barham, meanwhile, have traded places as Cutler has felt a little bit of pressure and has conceded the move. Coming through and out of Aintree, but he's not quite done yet. He's going to continue to wrestle that position back. trying to get it through Brooklands, not quite getting it, sticking back through Luffield, potentially looking for a switchback, but he had to compromise a lot on his speed to avoid getting in trouble, so he's not quite going to have that chance just yet. Amby, meanwhile, up in P14, chasing down the bronze leader in class. It's going to be Giles once again. And Giles is putting up a pretty solid defense, all things considered. An absolute corker of a quali. And oh, what was that just happened there? That was McKibben losing traction in a big way. The rear of that car looks super bouncy and skittish. I do not know what's going on with that Porsche, but it can't be any good sign. He's dropped down, now P19 as well. Is there an issue? It seems like there is a major issue with that 992. Almost comes into contact with, I think that's Mel on there. No, that is Saloma, my mistake. Max Saloma going off the track himself. Yeah, things are not looking good for McKibben. Things have suddenly taken a dour turn. But here we are, folks. Over 10 minutes of the race have passed, and so far things are looking just as dynamic as they were previously. And oh, that's Peyton Round! That is Peyton Round on the course. What has happened here? Let's take a bit of a replay. So we're just looking on the back of McKibben. And let's see what he does here. Agate, Beckett's. A little bit of a wobble there from the car behind, and oh, he just gets tapped into it. That was between, say, Cutler and, so looking at the cars, just trying to catch up on what's going on here, honestly. I'd say Cutler was nearby. You have to forgive me, Ron, because say my brain is not quite catching up with this one. Yeah, things have not gone well in that department. The number 144 car, I've been informed, has just dropped out. So we're down to 39 cars now. So that's Barham, yes. Thank you for the save there. That was, in fact, Barham. Funnily enough, Barham is also one of the cars that I'm noticing is absent on the timing board, so did he also leave the race? No, can't tell. Looking back in the mid-pack, things still seem as hectic as ever. We're seeing McNair not content with the P18 he currently stands in, and not content with him and Marsh's battle being fully settled. Going to continue the pressure on the back of the Porsche. And keep an eye on that car's movements. Now, these cars do have fundamentally different characteristics. The 720S, for instance, is able to push that a little bit harder in the straights, but the Porsche, with that, of course, slightly more rearward weight bias, means you can take a little bit more of an aggressive nose to corners and still come out with good speed. McNair is in himself a bit of a dicey spot, because simultaneously, while he's trying to chase down Marsh and get past him to maybe put the threat to the likes of Rios, Homer, Starkey, he himself, along with a major track extension just there, has got Trevor breathing down his neck. Meanwhile, looking at the top of the field, we're about to see some big moves for P2. As well, Grosgas is completely out of the picture, over 6 seconds clear. 6.9, in fact, as of current timings. Nice. Liam Blom almost was sizing up a move on Wolfslener. Wolfslener, of course, being the driver who was closest to Grosgas in quali. and was set to take pole until that Beamer took even more time, about a quarter of a second, I believe, off of their second pole shot. But we are seeing what can sometimes happen in racing. When two drivers fight, they lose each other time, allowing one car ahead to get completely away. I think that's exemplified perfectly here, because look at Grosges. Where is the challenge? Where is the opponent? I honestly don't see him. You see a tiny bit of their roof is just cresting over the barriers. I don't see any other cars. Jumping back to this little challenge for P17, Trevor was not going to be sitting idly by. Does peek the nose in on the inside. Trevor is going to get a little bit more of a run. Is going to be doing it side by side through Luffield here, but having that outside run means a little bit more work to do, and he's not going to quite be able to stay side by side coming out of the corner. Woodcote now before the finish line. It is going to be a drag race between the two McLarens. Is he going to go for a bit of a rash move? Nope, he's going to be staking his claim just behind in Cops. He could be setting himself up, though, to get a good run through Hangar and into Stowe. Not uncommon to see overtakes confirmed out of the Hangar straight, and especially as you go through Vale and Club. That's usually where you see a couple of overtakes, at least being confirmed. I spy a few fair things going on this circuit, folks, because at the same time we have Marsh, who has dropped off in a big way. Let's see exactly what happened with Marsh. Of course, currently sat around the P20s, but not anymore. You can see McNair just behind him. Oh, big spin. Nearly gets absolutely swallowed up. And that could have turned into a much larger collision. But Marsh has gone into the pits after that. Derek Neve himself has gone off into the infield, coming through and out of Vale. And a rejoin just off of the Apex Club and into the Hamilton Straight. But still, a couple of wobbles from a few drivers. That's going to put them much further down in the order. I think Marsh has taken a wise strategic call here. Choosing to take his pit stop after making a mistake gives him a chance to mentally reset, get himself back in the game. And the mental game is something that is often overlooked, but breaking that, not stoicism, I don't think that's quite the right word, but breaking that mental fortitude of a driver is half the battle when it comes to racing, because everyone has, at this level, the mechanical skill to pull off some amazing racing. One of the differentiators between your top class drivers and those who would maybe fall slightly behind them is going to be that of mental fortitude and of reading your opponents. Kamada, one to watch as Melon is just ahead. He'll be going for a move on P21. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Ostrachas also looking for a bit of action, and he's going to stick the nose in just in through through Stowe. I had to sort of clench up there. I was getting quite nervous. McNair is also not going to be content with sitting idly by. He's going to take the Apex out through Vale and into Club. Going to try and confirm a move. Putting Ostrachas between himself and Waite was a great strategic call there, because it gets him out of his purview. It gets him a chance to get away and start pushing forward, break a gap, so that he can work on securing P4 for his class, and maybe even start to move up a bit, see if he can challenge for P3. You can see Waite has now got a different challenge on his hands. And Ostrachas losing the back of the car, coming out and through Aintree. Rough times for him there. Luckily no incident, but Trevor dropping back massively all the way to P20 and leaving McKibben and Saloma in a drag race. He's going to come out on top there. The McLaren's being a little bit more gutsy. He's going to fire it down the inside. You can just see there Who's going to take the wings? Now the Porsche has the inside line coming out through Luffield. They're going to come out on an even keel. Looks like the McLaren might just have it. Or will they? Porsche still has the apex through Copse. Slide from the Porsche. Bit too much slip angle, I think, there. A little bit of a wide extend, but that is going to give Saloma the position. Great battle in this mid-pack here. Yamada now headed into the pits. Next driver to do so. Makes me wonder what our pole sitters and our sort of top 5 racers are going to be thinking about doing in terms of strategy. Of course, now it is going to be up to Grosges, really, because being in the lead means that he has control to an extent over how the race plays out. He's going to have a bit of a chance to influence what the other drivers do by how he pits. It's not uncommon to see drivers roughly follow the pattern of the leader, because, I'll say, in a pure psychology sense, it's just common sense. You see the car that's going the fastest and you want to mimic how they're going the fastest, including their pit strategy. Doesn't always work. Drivers are keen to do that sometimes to their own detriment. It may compromise their strategy, not to mention different cars have different characteristics. Grosges might be driving in such a way that he's really gentle on his fuel load. So going for a longer initial stint might work for him here. He might have loaded his car up early for a big stint rather than going halfsies. That might work for him, but it won't work for everyone. It's not uncommon to see drivers conk out in the last couple of minutes through some minor fuel miscalculations. It's not out of the realms of reasonability. So looking at Engdahl here, he's been trying to push up on Larson. Did briefly have a shot, but again, didn't quite materialise for him. Regardless, Engdahl's not giving up. And he's going to continue to fight that good fight. Not too dissimilar to a certain Hamby and Giles, who have been fighting each other tooth and nail, lap in, lap out, since the start of the race. We're on lap 11 now, and these two remain at each other's throats. In the best way possible, of course. Hey, good sports, great racing, and even better competition. Hamby and Giles continue to duke it out for the lead of the bronze class. Starkey a little bit further up the road, could be making a challenge himself, but this time for P2. Well, that Silver Championship isn't going to take itself. It's going to take drivers making some action. Real sitting P10 overall, currently top of class. That's going to be some healthy points in his favour. Rios currently sitting P5 in the championship standings, and is one to watch because a good result here could catapult him up. By comparison, this could be a big jumble for the championship, as current silver class leader McKibben is down in P20 and much further behind the likes of Rios, Homer and Starkey to make a meaningful challenge. Cutler is down in the pits, but they still would be behind even after the differential. Well, McNair has managed to get past at least one of the bronze class runners, because Phil has just dropped behind the Iron Brew McLaren. And looking a little bit further ahead as well. these championships could be starting to shape up in a big way and start to see some twists and turns. Some drivers have a few different sets of aims. Some will be coming in for the championship, others will be coming for just a good result. I know some drivers as well who are, say, currently sat, due to the way the penalty system works, at negative points. And I'm not one for naming and shaming, but those drivers will certainly want to be getting back into the positives and start making some climbs on the boards. So some points to prove and maybe some chips on shoulders. Be reflective about it. Either way, drivers continue to give it their all. Again, a little bit of a sort of chatter slash radio is apparently he had a bit of an issue with Cook. So Cook is now headed into the pits, but apparently he mistakenly switched his engine off. So, of course, taking a big hit in terms of pace, and much worse off. So briefly getting the accident flags out, but don't see anything happening. Let's just see what happened between Melon and Howells. We could see a little bit of, say, an altercation here. Oh, bit of a bumping up between one another. Howells extends off the track. Oh no, so Melon extends off the track. Mistake on the focus there. You see a little bit of switching around. Meanwhile, Starkey has got the move done coming out of Stowe and is now sat P2 in the Silver Championship race. Well, we're coming up to the halfway mark, folks, and time is a ticking. Time's a ticking away. So far, we have 39 remaining cars from 42 starters. Many of them have already taken their stop. In fact, 7 of them have taken their stop out of the 39. With 32 cars still yet to pit. As things stand, looking like there is still a chance for anyone to take some major wins home tonight. Lemonade, for instance, getting pretty close to the back of Goddard and could be seeing themselves getting a move. Fortunately, they have got 5 bronze class drivers between themselves and their next class competitor in Oldhouse, so these moves, try as they might be ineffectual. Hughes, meanwhile, is going for a move of substance in terms of his championship standing, and the substance isn't just paint on the bumpers. So a bit of contact coming between himself and the other Ferrari, with Oldhouse also picking a bit of the nose. As we see a couple of cars now coming into the pits. McNair, Howells, Ostrachars and O'Neill all coming in, along with Paul Wallace, Goddard and Aid. Big swathe of cars now coming into the pit lane. Coming up to the halfway mark, so of course this is the highest probability for timing that drivers are going to be taking any kind of pit time. So let's see what these cars can do. Hughes, of course, trying to get a bit of aggression out on Oldhouse. Oldhouse has got it past Hughes and Mitchell. But a little bit of contact here, a little bit of contact there. You may see that come back to bite in due time. Well, we'll look a bit further up and we can see that Lindblom is going to be overtaking one of the back markers. I believe that is the McLaren of McNair. So we'll have to cross-check that. In fact, yep, that is McNair right there. Any points so I got it right? And then in the mid-pack we have a bit of a duel between Saloma and Giles, with Happy a little bit further up the road. Safe to say that currently got effective claim of bronze lead. We are dueling McLaren, slow and wait. One has the apex, the other relinquishes a little bit of speed. In the end, both heading into the pits, effectively calling a ceasefire on this battle between the two. Giles is going to enjoy a little bit of open space. Closest that he's going to get to a challenge is McKibben, who is about a second behind him by this point. Also not really in the same race, so how hard he's going to have to contest that is anyone's debate. Maybe even see themselves being of help to one another. How they want to proceed with strategy is their call to make. So in a couple of switch ups, Liam Blom is coming through now. Of course, took a pit stop, I believe, a bit earlier in the race, and is now re-emerging in the order. Going to be coming out P19. That is going to be just behind the Aston of Alex North. We have seen race to some strong success, although I've got to say, after some success that he's seen in other series, it's surprising to have him down in bronze of all places. Maybe say qualifying wasn't too kind to him, but we also know that the qualifying, or I guess the entry pre-qualification, was one of the tightest contested that we've ever seen at SimSeniors, so not uncommon with situations like that to see a little bit of a switch up, a little bit of an upset in terms of the traditional order, and we're here for it. We want to see. We've crossed over the halfway mark, folks, and McNair has just got around Hamby. And now we're seeing that over half of the grid has taken their stops, and more are to follow. Moffat, Wolfslener, Larson and Starkey have now jumped into the pit lane, with just a few cars yet to take their time as needed. Remember, while there's no set pit window, everyone has to take their stop at some point during the race. The only exceptions are you cannot take it on the first lap, you cannot take it on the last. It goes without saying, but if you take it on the last lap and cross the line in the pit lane without taking your mandatory stop, that is grounds for big sanction. That's circumventing the system in the, in the highest degree. So here we go. Derek Neve also jumping into the pits as Moffat leaves out from the lane. It's got a few more cars who are set to be leaving very soon. Wilson just jumped out, among others. We are going to see that timing board jump around just a little bit as the game tries to make sense of what's happening and tries to stabilize things just a little bit. There we go. That is Mitchell out, and he's going to be rejoining the track in P29 here. Ada is doing the same, and then Starkey soon to follow. Seeing a lot more gaps form around the field as we are in this potential limbo, especially at the front end. Engdahl now in, Hellstrom now in. Homberg going to be taking a P2, if temporarily. We have less than 10 cars now requiring a pit stop still. I'm just getting a bit of word that Starkey is in the pits because he ran out of fuel. So he's, I don't know actually if he's going to be re-emerging from the lane. That is rough times for him there. And apparently it was just by a thread. He was coasting to the pit box. Oh no, there we go. He's back out. But of course the additional time cost of having to, of course, reset. Going to RTG, that's going to cost him big time. So he is going to re-emerge, but it is all the way at the bottom in P13. 39, and this does mean he hasn't taken his mandatory stop, so this has gone officially from bad to worse for the Bentley driver with a bit of promise. Fortunately, that hope has diminished. Meanwhile, you've got Engdahl sitting with a stop-and-go 30-second penalty, which I believe that would have been due to, if my timing board can update correctly, I believe that would have been due to speeding in or out of the pit lane. Those pit limiters are safety based, so you do not want to mess around with those. Meanwhile, pole sitter and current race leader Maximilian Grosges is currently in the pit lane. He's finally taken his stop. We're going to see how many, if any, of the leading drivers follow the cadence and in the footsteps of the leader. Homburg is going to be jumping in. McKibben is going to be coming up to the pit lane very soon. So we'll see who exactly follows the leader on this occasion. Remember, only 6 cars left to pit by this point, so it's a very late stop as far as strategy goes. But there we go. McKibben also going to be jumping into the pits in the same regard. Aldhouse doing identical. That is Mark Hughes. In fact, going to be going out a little bit longer. But then look, our race leader still in the race lead, although having just been passed on track by Hughes, is back out there, rejoining the course, and gonna be quickly pushing to get himself into that perfect operating window. Wolfslander still 6 seconds behind. He's done well to keep the gap on tap, although peak pace is still going to be one that goes to Grosges. Wolfslander is not far behind, only 17 milliseconds between each other's fastest laps. There are Hughes and North. In fact, no, just Hughes, because North is now in the pit lane. McKibben and Aldhouse just exiting. Engdahl going in to serve his stop-and-go 30. Grosges once again. He's out in P2, but with Hughes having yet to pit, he has effectively still remained in the lead of the race. I've got Matthias Homburg, or Matthias, my apologies. Homburg and Cook. They're going to be seeing a little bit of a battle between each other. There we go, got word the stop and go has been cleared from the number 33. So that is going to be Engdahl. Oh, there you see Engdahl, yeah. So now in the clear. I do have to wonder though, when is Hughes going to be coming in? Well, we have our answer. The answer is right now. Last driver, jump in the pits. There were 20 minutes to go. Sometimes we have seen stints go even longer, but at that point you have to wonder about the time that you're losing for tyres. And also, whether it would have been more viable to go for a refuel mid-race. Or more of a refuel, I should say. Because, of course, loading up heavier at the beginning does mean you can go for longer and have a bit more flexibility on strategy. Simultaneously, your car is heavier. It has more fuel in it. And you do not want to be dealing with the consequences of more fuel. You're slower. Your center of gravity is less stable, less consistent. Or your center of mass, I should say. And that means a little bit more uncertainty and a bit more weight transfer happening in the car, which can upset certain configurations. All about figuring out many different factors in order to balance the perfect setup. And how you run that setup as well dictates how much pace you can extract. You can have the greatest setup in the world, but if you're not doing the right things to extract the pace from it, you might as well have no setup. Bit too verbose for a t-shirt. I think that's a good mantra to live by when we're talking about setup for a race event like this one. We jump around a little bit. You can see McNair could be fighting for a position against Robert Homer, because now he's sat P13. Of course, Starkey is now out of the picture. And this could mean that Homer is under threat. P2 on the cards for league owner Colin. I do always find it impressive when the staff of the league are directly involved to the point where they are racers themselves, because it shows the passion. Shows everyone loves what we do here. But here we go, coming up to the final quarter, folks. Things have panned out in some interesting ways. We have seen a bit of familiarity at the top, but in the same light we have seen some big shake-ups around the field that we didn't really expect. Engdahl, second in gold class, has been slapped with a stop and go 30, and I'll be very surprised if he takes home good points tonight. Simultaneously, you have the likes of Colin, currently sat P2 in Silver Championship, and could be set to take the lead, because I cannot see McKibben making the kind of recovery points-wise that he needs. While it is just a 5-position gap, that is not insignificant, because they're only 5 points apart in this Silver Championship. It could be coming into round 3 on even keel, pending penalty. Remember, the points penalties do not mess around. They correlate to your cleanliness on and off the track, and as reported. So you're found guilty of an incident, you are getting subjected to a little bit of a haircut on your current championship total. Engdahl and McNair are going to be having a little bit of a battle themselves, as this could be a contest. A contest of 2 bronze races. I really should say Jordan and Colin, because we have 2 drivers named McNair, and I'm sure that is not confusing for anyone. Look around, we see that we've had a big mistake from a certain Melon, as Hughes has capitalised very quickly to jump into P23. A class move there from the Ferrari, pushing himself up into a very nice position. Colin really pressuring on the back of Homer now. Homer's had to go hyper defensive heading into Stowe. Is it going to be enough though? Of course, he's compromised his exit speed because of such a defensive maneuver, and that is McNair's time to strike. Colin has jumped through. He's going to get the apex out through Vale into Glove now. Double right-hander. He's going to have quite a good lead run, and he's going to land himself P2 in the silver. Unbelievable stuff. Really good work there. Can't say I'm not impressed by some of the strategic and passing moves we've seen around the field. While in some cases it has been a little bit of downtime on this circuit, when things have happened, they have really happened. As always, I am grateful for minimizing early lap chaos, because my voice was dying, and also you don't want drivers to be compromised so early into the session. because that's no fun for anyone. As chaotic as it may be for us in the audience, no driver wants to be caught in a situation like that. In the form, we're down to 38 cars now, so we have lost yet another driver in this field. And we do see potential for a few more moves to take place further down, and up for that matter. Loma could be trying to close the gap to Paul Hamby, but 8 seconds on the clock cumulatively is going to be a tough bar to climb. We've got Trevor, who could be going for a move on McKibben. Of course, this could put McKibben into second in the championship if this move lands. Eager to see what can be made of this one. Oldhouse and Giles, very close, and though in separate classes, have continued to be thorns in each other's sides. So Oldhouse and Kamada are in a similar boat, if not closer, although Giles very close to hitting the back of Oldhouse there. That could have been netcode. Starkey, of course, big drop from tonight thanks to that fuel issue and not making it to the pit lane, so he has taken his pit stop, but that has left him second to last on this remaining field, and it's not a happy sight. Considering where he wanted to be in this championship, it's not a good sign when round 2 you are second to last from a, let's say, as far as issues go, that one feels especially like one of the most hard done by situations, because by all accounts you could be having a great race and then just slightly mismanaging your fuel economy is a deal breaker. Oh, I cannot wait to see what these racers will do when we come to the final 10 minutes and people start to realise, although, oh, big wobble there from Cutler, that could be an incident, but luckily no harm done to other cars. Incident avoided, crisis averted. The result of this is a big clump of cars around the P16 to 19 range. They're all going to be jostling for position now. Trevor, you can see already chomping at the bit. Yet potentially another silver class driver knocked down a peg. Justin wanting to quickly recover from his mistake, re-establish a little bit of space on the track. It's not going to be coming in so easily to him. Going to have to work for it. Work pretty hard at that. Trevor's not letting him take the easy road, however. You can see at pretty much every opportunity how he's trying to deviate from his opponent's line in order to either break toe, manage the cooling, or potentially stage a little bit of strategic pressure or even a move. See Cutler even having to go a little bit wider, and he's going to let Trevor go along the outside. Bit of a wide run there from Justin. Can he commit and keep the nose out, heading out of the corner into Woodcote now? He's just about going to remain ahead, but not by much. Final 10 minutes, folks. Still all to play for. Here we are, folks, with the final 10 minutes rapidly approaching and the last segments of the race quickly closing in. Omberg could be getting a bit of a chance to drop Rios and start to make an attack for the rest of the gold class positions. As suffice it to say, the gold class, as fast as they have been fairly processional. There's a reason we haven't been visiting them all too much, and that's because they have just been keeping their heads down, putting the work in, and they have been just putting down lap after lap of consistent hardcore racing. Take Wolfslander for example. He didn't necessarily have nor really want to push up into P1. You can just see Grosges up in the distance exiting Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel as Wolfslander is entering. But regardless, point stands that he's kept his head down. He's just put in some quality racing and some quality laps. And without any meaningful contest from any other drivers on this field, he hasn't dropped, nor has he gained. Because the drivers ahead and behind him are in the exact same boat. Meanwhile, you contrast that with something, say, the battle for P17, which is currently a three-way fight between Cutler, Howes and Waite. They've all got stakes in this. Howes, for instance, is one of the bronze class drivers, currently sat third. In fact, because we seem to have lost Giles in a major way. I'll have to check back on any incident reports, but it looks like Giles dropped down to P22, despite being on some seemingly good pace earlier. So Trevor is going to be pushing hard. Howes is continuing the good fight and trying their best to really put some pressure down, because they want to commit to that P3 in bronze. That could mean some very healthy points for them. That could jump them potentially into podium spots. Slomer in P2, safe to say they might remain claimed on the championship top step. But then Hamby in first could challenge that. Goddard is nowhere to be seen. In fact, Goddard is all the way down in P31 right now, so definitely has seen better days. Meanwhile, Jordan and North have switched places, and it looks like that could be the start of a cascade, because Neve and Aid are very, very close behind. Eagerly awaiting any chances to strike. Oldhouse and Howes have also taken a little bit of a swap-a-rooney. Oldhouse just confirming it into Brooklands and out of Luffield. Enter in to lap 26, folks. It is going to be the last few minutes. We're going to see about 3 more laps here. Will we make it to lap 30? Has the leader been fast enough to make it to lap 30? We'll find out. Remember, about 2 minutes a lap, 6 minutes to go. It's going to be close. Let me know what you think. Oldhouse is going to be continuing his momentum. Immediately going to be putting pressure on Justin Cutler. Because now he's with like-classed racers. He can pull out all the stops, because these positions matter a lot more than just scything through the fields, through the Howes, the Camaras, a world. These ones have some real point stakes. Let's see, as this gaggle of cars are coming out through the Hamilton Straight and into Abbey. Who is going to be the one to watch? So far, eyes remain glued to Oldhouse. It could be very soon staging an opportunity. Howes is not so far behind himself. And I think he's lying in wait, because whatever gets in a stumble out of either driver. Wherever one stumbles, Howes can capitalize and pick up a free position potentially. Let's say Oldhouse goes very wide, or Cutler is forced into a defensive position that they can't hold. Not only are they going to let Oldhouse through, but the lack of pace on the exit could see it make it double. Not going to stop Howes from continuing to push the gap on their own, but playing a little bit more strategically minded. This is one of those examples where you can see a single overtake be turned into a double with some thinking on your feet. Speaking of thinking on your feet, we see Oldhouse go out wide through the exit of Beckett's and kind of cutting Chapel in its entirety. Meaning that Howes could be on the docket for getting a P19. Pace could be somewhat shaken here. Howes just needs to refine and lock in the race pace until the end. McKibben, meanwhile, is sat in P4 and has recovered well from their earlier wobbles, and in fact just got around Saloma through a little bit of their own mistake, so they could start putting some pressure down and catching, but with only 3 minutes left, I don't know if that is quite enough time to make any more moves. I think they should maybe just commit and stick to the position they have, as with many other drivers doing so, but not these two. Oldhouse, Cutler continuing to duel. Of course, not content with P19, wanting the opportunity that's practically being waved to them like a carrot on a stick. Oldhouse looks for the chance out of Brooklands. Slightly better exit could get a bit of a move out of left field, but doesn't seem to be the exact pace they were looking for. Seems like Cutler is a little bit more of an edge out on that regard. Engines carry just that little bit more pace. Through some of the twistier sections of this course, and Oldhouse only veering off once again, not too dissimilar to what happened at Chapel just the lap prior, but big position drop from him. That's going to put him all the way down to P23. This could be an opportunity for some to get some last minute positions. Hughes, for instance, has an opportunity now, quickly more than ever, to get potentially Howes and Giles for a big upset in the bronze tier. I appreciate the positive works, folks. I've had 12 coughing fits and my throat feels like it's about to die, so hopefully none of that has been caught on microphone. Here we go. Last potential lap coming from our leaders. We didn't get the call that the leaders have started the final lap, but I'd hazard a guess that that's probably where we're at right now, because we are coming down to the last minute. I don't think the leaders are halfway through their current lap. Not at least from what I can tell. So here we go. Hughes. Are they going to be going for an opportunity here? Could be seen as a bit of a hail. See, drawing close to the 296 GT3, just poised. Take any opportunity they can, even to the detriment of their exit. Goes a little bit too hard on the throttle coming out of there. That is going to compromise some race pace there. But we jump a bit further ahead and we see that one driver throughout all of this chaos in the mid-pack has just kept to himself, and throughout 29 laps of hard, fair racing, or should I say time trialing in this case, because they didn't have much of an on-track challenge since the start. They got that early getaway. That was curtains for everyone else's race effort. But Not that the battle was for naught for anyone else. Practically a perfect weekend for Grosjean's. First it's pole, now it's a win, coming across the line. Maximilian, congratulations for making it an absolute brilliant run from everyone at Wolfpack. Certainly going to be very proud of that. Now, a bit of a celebration coming in from the Beamer, and a well-deserved one at that. Wolfslenner going to be coming in P2 for Pro, with Lienblom just crossing the line. Very impressive stuff by all of those top three involved. Next, just coming up, although not quite out of the woods yet, you do have two gold class drivers just behind. Adam Rios is going to be your next car crossing the line, and is going to be the winner in silver. Great job by Adam there. Stuck it out despite the increasing pressure from the likes of Starkey from Homer. Got a clean break when Starkey had to bail out, and Homer was caught up in his own affairs from a certain Colin McNair in second place in silver. Brilliant performance, just pipping Robert Homer. And once they had the position, McNair had things, but Homer putting in a brilliant performance as well, continually applying the pressure across the field, which leaves us with a few other cars. We have Hamby with an excellent drive of his own to win the bronze class run. Saloma coming into P2, and then Howells with some great work locking in on a P3 for bronze. Great stuff, great racing being had by all, and it's a weekend to remember for everyone. I'd certainly be proud if that was my race. So whether you finished in P1 or P42, even if you didn't make it to the end, still some drivers who really pulled it out of the hat tonight. And everyone on the field, give yourself a pat on the back. You make it to these races. Of course, they are a commitment, and everyone deserves a little love for that. Now, I'm not going to hang around with the broadcast too long, but at this point, folks, it has been absolutely brilliant to jump on the broadcast with you this evening. It is always a privilege. But now, if you excuse me, I have got a practically casted out throat that I would need to be attending to. And we will see you in a week's time for none other than Zolder. Don't want to go anywhere, folks, because this one's going to be a good one. And if these first two rounds are anything to go by, you won't want to miss anything in Season 6. I've been Sappy, aka Ben Sapsford. I'll see you very soon. Take care, and good night.